Hi guys, my name is Yesenia Gallardo Avila and I'm the program coordinator for the Inventor program. Welcome to the Inventor family and congratulations on joining the program. We've developed this series of 4 webinars to help you guys with your business development skills. We hope that you will take what you've learned in these modules and incorporate it into your pitch deck, into your business plan, and into your financials. Most importantly, we hope that you will use this information to make a strong case for the commercialization potential and the market potential of your invention. Let's get started. Welcome to Business Development for Innovators, the Road to Inventor. We want to thank our Inventor sponsors, the Lemelson Foundation, Portland State University, and JAMA Software. This webinar will focus on market research and market size. A little background on market research and why it's important. Market research helps you understand what kind of new products and services can help bring profit to your company. It also helps you understand whether your company is meeting needs and expectations for customers. It helps you understand whether your company needs to pivot or needs to change design, delivery, or a whole new product. It can also help you understand where and who your customers are and who and when they are most likely and willing to purchase whatever you've invented. There are 2 general types of market research. First, primary research. The goal of primary research is to collect raw data from its source in order to analyze sales and the effectiveness of current practices. In other words, it's asking what's going right and what's going wrong, and it should be focused on your customers and competitors. Generally, you want to do interviews, surveys, questionnaires, or focus groups to conduct primary market research. These are done asking direct questions of your customers and competitors, and then analyzing those interviews, surveys, questionnaires, or focus groups. What we're going to focus on today is secondary market research. The goal of secondary market research is to analyze data on sales, competitors, trends, etc., all the information on your market out there that has already been published. In general, secondary market research helps you identify and understand your target customer segments. It can help you identify competitors, and the 3 things that it will help you do that we will focus on today are understanding market trends, establishing benchmarks, and understanding market potential. There are a few vocabulary words that we want to make sure you understand before the Inventor finals. The first one is compounded annual growth rate. Whenever you do any kind of market research, this is a common vocabulary word and terminology that will come up. CAGR, the compounded annual growth rate, is a measure of growth over a time period. For example, you might read in a market or industry report that the global sparkling water market is growing at a CAGR of 7.4% from 2016 to 2020. In general, CAGR is reported in a percentage. It's a percentage of growth, and it is in the future because it's a projection of how much the market will grow. The bigger the CAGR, the better it is for you and your product. Market size is the total number of units in individuals or people, or you can also see it in sales. Most commonly in sales, it'll be either the revenue or the dollar amount of a particular market. So for example, you might read that the global sparkling water market is currently valued at $215 million. Market share is another term. Market share is a percentage of a market's total sales earned by a specific company. This would be the market share that your company could capture. You might read, for example, that Coca-Cola captured a 5% share of the global sparkling water market in 2018. The next 3 important vocabulary words are TAM, SAM, and SOM. TAM stands for total addressable market. It is the entire market for the industry. It's usually a really big number in the millions or billions, and it's the easiest one to estimate because you can usually find research on it. It's usually expressed in terms of revenue or dollars or units, like people or individuals. SAM, serviceable addressable market, is the portion of your TAM that you could actually address. We want you to focus on your particular market segment or your customers or your go-to-market strategy and then figure out what the serviceable addressable market is if you were able to capture all of the customers in your particular segment. SOM, serviceable obtainable market, is the amount of market share that you could reasonably expect to gain based on a number of different assumptions about your team, your product, and just general trends on the market and on your competitors. SOM is basically your sales divided by the SAM. It is a percentage of the SAM. Let's break this down a little bit further. Let's say you were starting a small kombucha company in Oregon. I do want to say that this is equally applicable to robotics, to artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, or whatever products and services you guys are inventing. But for these purposes, we'll start with a simple food and beverage example. So kombucha. Let's say that I found industry research that told me that the TAM, the total addressable market for kombucha, was $543,000. The way that I would generally go about trying to find this number is that I would go into my just general Google search, type in kombucha industry, kombucha market, kombucha sales, kombucha market size, and then here I find a bunch of information from local databases. Usually I can only get big numbers about the market. I'm not going to get a lot of details because these reports can be very expensive, but all I want are general numbers. Let's click on this Statista, which is a great resource for finding market research. It tells me that the global sales for kombucha were $747 billion, but it also tells me that the US sales were $534 million. This number is more helpful to me because I'm trying to launch a kombucha product in Oregon, so the more narrow the TAM can be in terms of getting me situated and understanding what the potential market is for my product is better. So let's say that the TAM was then $543 million. Let's say then I went and dug a little bit deeper and found out that the Oregon retail market for kombucha was $75 million. There was $75 million worth of kombucha sold in Oregon last year. Based on this information, I'm going to go out, I'm going to talk to other folks maybe in the kombucha industry, I'm going to look at other food and beverage companies, and I'm going to try and make a good guess about what a potential SOM might be, how much of that market I could actually capture. If I set myself a 5% goal of capturing that market, which is reasonable for a small, newer brand, maybe I could capture 5% of that market, I would get about $3,750,000. I just want to reiterate that the TAM and the SAM should be based on secondary research. You should be able to find databases or information that are going to yield these numbers. But the SOM should be based on reasonable assumptions that you make about your business. Why is this market size information important? It's important because it helps you quantify the potential of your business. It helps you understand if the business is too big. Maybe there's too many competitors and you're going to have a really small chance of breaking into a market like that. Maybe it's too small and there just isn't enough potential for that, for any kind of money to actually be made. It helps you develop a realistic go-to-market plan. It also helps you understand what a realistic sense of your revenues might be and do some quick back-of-the-envelope calculations for those projections. A couple of tips on TAM, SAM, and SOM. First, how do you decide the TAM? Do you say it's the whole globe, the whole world, the whole city, the whole country? My suggestion is focus on a reasonable but pie-in-the-sky expansion. So if your company was around for the next 5 to 10 years, where might you expand to? The whole US, the whole globe? Second, when you're deciding on your SAM, focus on whatever your customer segment or your customer strategy, your go-to-market strategy is. Thinking that way, for example, if you're going to launch a shoe company, then you would want the shoe company ideally to maybe go global. That's fine. But right now, you're going to launch, let's say, in California, Oregon, and Washington. That's going to be your go-to-market strategy, just capturing the West Coast of the United States. That would be your SAM because it makes sense, it's reasonable, it's logical, it's defensible. Next, what percentage should you aim for in your SOM? There's no hard or fast rule for this, but the best way to think about it is what's a reasonable customer flow? How much of the product could you reasonably make? How many customers are there that might want to buy this product? One really simple example is, let's say you're starting a coffee shop. If you sat and watched another coffee shop, whether it was a local Starbucks or your local Stumptown, and watched and observed for one whole day how many customers came into that Stumptown or that Starbucks, that would be a pretty good base for how many customers your coffee shop might have. Then you would take that number, multiply it by how many hours in the day you were open if you were only observing them for 1 to 2 hours, then multiply that by the number of days in the week that you're open, and then the month and the year, so that you could maybe estimate how many customers your coffee shop might see in a year. That's a pretty good sense of a customer flow. Try and extrapolate that to whatever your company or product is that you're developing. Whatever it is, you just need to use reasonable, defensible, logical assumptions that are based on information or data to back your SOM up. Let's take a look at this kombucha example again, but let's look at different numbers to understand why it's important to know this market size and market research stuff. Let's say that you found that the TAM, the total addressable market for kombucha, was actually only $15 million. And then you were trying to launch, not in Oregon, but in Wyoming, totally different market. and you found that the SAM, the serviceable addressable market, or the entire retail sales for kombucha in the state of Wyoming were $500,000. And as a new small brand, you might capture, again, 5% of that market. Your SOM would be $25,000, hardly enough to make a living off of kombucha. It might make you change your strategy. Maybe it would mean expanding to 4 or 5 states. Maybe it would mean totally starting on a different coast. Maybe it would mean rethinking what kind of product you're offering. Let's look at another example. Let's say you were making a smart device shoe insert for track athletes. The TAM in this case, might be the number of students in the state of Oregon that do track. Maybe your whole plan is just to expand to the entire state of Oregon. So maybe you could find this number, and we're just gonna make it up here, but let's say you looked at the Portland Public Schools database. Maybe you looked at the Track and Field for High School Athletes Association. Maybe you found it from other reports on the popularity of track or injuries in track students. There's many ways to go about getting this information. It doesn't always have to be industry reports. But let's say it was $100,000. And your initial go-to-market strategy, your initial customers that you were going to focus on were students in the Portland metro area, because that's where you wanted to launch your product. So let's say that you found that there was 10,000 of those students. And after giving it some thought and doing a little bit of research, you estimated that you could capture 15% of the market of those Portland metro track students. That would give you about 1,500 students. I want to just point out that this example is done in units. So you're thinking about students in the terms of numbers of students that might buy your product, whereas in the kombucha example, you were thinking in terms of revenue or the dollars sold. Either one is fine, and you'll be able to make the calculations with whatever information you find. I also want to note that even though I gave you an example about kombucha and the food and beverage industry, these examples are totally applicable to whether you're building robotics, AI, smart devices, whatever. Lastly, let's look at this example from Airbnb to get a better understanding of why this stuff is important. When they were starting out, Airbnb took a look at the worldwide number of trips booked. This would be the total available market or the total addressable market. Both terminologies are fine. And they found that 2 billion people booked trips worldwide. But Airbnb wasn't going to try and capture every single person in the whole world that booked every single trip in the whole world. They were going to focus on budget and online travelers. That's the SAM, the serviceable available market, or the serviceable addressable market. And they found that that was 560 million people. Those were the folks that were looking for places to stay that were cheaper, and they were booking online. Airbnb then said, well, can we capture 15% of that market? If we get 50% of that market, that seems reasonable to us as an online platform with low cost, low overhead, who's going to aggressively go global. And 15% of 560 million is 84 million. Now take that number, 84 million, which is their goal for their share of the market, the SOM, and Airbnb is going to take 10% commission on each transaction. That's going to be about $25 per transaction, and that's going to yield them $2 billion in revenue. This is super basic, quick, back of the envelope calculations, but it tells you that this could be a potentially very valuable source of revenue and a very valuable idea. These kinds of simple calculations and simple understandings of the market are going to position you to really understand the value, the commercialization value, and the market potential for your particular invention. That's it, guys. Thanks for sticking around, and good luck.